Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be a new bot, ZeratulsRevenge, taking on Zozo, the current ProBots champion. And yes, we have got what should be a good game here today, as this is a bot author recommended replay. The author of ZeratulsRevenge sent me a little email saying, hey, what's up? This is the bot that I've been working on, and a little bit of the description of it. And the main takeaway from it is that it is actually inspired by Zozo, which is very cool. That aspiring authors, well, I guess you're an author as soon as you start programming a bot, but newer authors are looking at some of the better bots out there and taking inspiration. And out of all the bots to take inspiration from, Zozo is a pretty dirty one. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. It's a bit of an ambitious goal, but if we can hit 100 likes on this video, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And subscribe if you're not already subscribed, as I bet you can't find another YouTube channel which has near daily bot videos of bots taking each other down. So yes, we'll just see how ZeratulsRevenge does in this match against Zozo, as it is taking a bit of a cheesy build here. The proxy 4-gate, not a tight flower, so in theory workers could be pulled against this. However, it's very far, so it's not like workers would actually be pulled against this to kill this pylon. But for example, if you were up against a Zerg and they were trying to kill the pylon later with Lings or something like that, that's why you generally go for a solid flower. But anyways, ZeratulsRevenge is actually cheesing the heck out of Zozo, which is actually macroing for once, going for a Nexus and a battery on the low ground, but now all of a sudden is having to deal with a flood of Zealots. So Zozo's Stalker micro is really going to be tested here, as this pylon is being worked on. Will the battery heal it up? No, it will not. No, the Stalker, what are you doing? You cannot go down there. The Stalker of Zozo just getting butchered. Now, Zozo has got some of the best probe micro out of all the bots. However, there's simply so many Zealots here, and they're actually feeding into quite a bad choke point. This is where you generally mineral walk, I think, but the rules are different when it comes to bot games. And yeah, Zozo is kind of getting cheesed a little bit here. Another Stalker out for Zozo. However, it's really trying to path down that ramp, but it can't get there, and it's an incredibly dangerous place for the Stalker to go. It should be staying back. The probes are successfully body blocking for that Zealot, but right now we are looking at one Stalker having to clean up 7 Zealots, and there is no shortage of these Zealots either. So it's weird that Zozo's Stalkers really tried to get down that ramp when they should have stayed back. I'm not sure if they're trying to get down to wall or to get down near the battery. But either way, we have got an incredibly cheesy debut by ZeratulsRevenge. And yeah, the Stalker trying to hold the door. It does pull back when it takes some damage. Zozo pulls the probes once again, pulling them back once they take a swipe to minimize the damage. But unfortunately, the numbers just are not there. And so ZeratulsRevenge will cheese out the cheesy bot. And that opens up an interesting discussion on whether it's better to try and cheese in bot matches and tournaments than it is to try and spend a lot of time solving those cheeses. Because, yeah, sometimes it is easier just to try and out-cheese your opponent if they're a cheesy player. And that is exciting to see, that we can just be entering into an arms race of crazy cheeses. It's just ridiculous how many Zealots a bot can get out, though, thanks to speed mining. Like, this 4-gate build is just super powerful. For those of you that don't know, if you're a human player and you go for this Zealot rush, you're struggling to get out to actually make use of those 4 gateways right at the start. Whereas bots, they have no problem pumping out 4 Zealots at a time. And yeah, just really well done by ZeratulsRevenge. I didn't even get a chance to go into the details on this bot. But Yeah. That was a very short first game. Those of you that couldn't guess, I'm not just going to put a 4-minute video here on the channel. So we do actually have another bot author recommended replay. It's going to be Benbot BC taking on -0. Two incredible bots. These two have, I'll say, very interesting matches against each other. Like, we don't really see -0 play games against Benbot like it does against any other bot, and kind of similar with Benbot, as there's not a lot of Protoss bots that are like -0 and can kind of match its pace. So we've got a TVP, two very established bots compared to the newer ZeratulsRevenge, which again I didn't really get a chance to go too far into, so I just pulled up its page. It's a Python bot. It was literally put on the ladder October 22nd, so 2 days ago. A very, very new bot. And it just goes to show that you can create bots that can potentially cheese out the top bots. And that's actually a fun challenge. That's one of the first things I did when I programmed my bot, was queue it up against a few of the better bots just to see, hey, maybe I can get a cheesy win, that kind of thing. However, for now, in game number 2, we've got Benbot going for its proxy racks against -0, and probably going to be building a bunker at this natural base. This is interesting that this is something Benbot consistently gets away with. However, -0 kind of just, it's almost like the Black Knight. It's just like, I refuse to acknowledge this. I'll just stay on one base. I don't care if I take a little bit of damage, and it just plays it safe. And yeah, isn't really bothered by the fact that Benbot consistently opens up cheesily against it. It just plays it for the situation, and these situations, it tends to work out. So far, it's literally got no idea there's that Nexus, and there we go. There's the Nexus canceled. Or pardon me, it had no idea there was that bunker, and so -0 was like, whatever. All right, I'll just play off of one base. Who needs a second base? As a couple more gateways go on up to spend that money, which is very nice, I'll say. The fact that it's not just like, oh, I canceled my Nexus, I have an extra 300 minerals, that's going to sit there. No, -0 pretty much immediately spends that. We've now got an Adept, which may actually shade past this bunker, which could be really nice. It doesn't actually commit, though. It's staying on the defense, which is probably the wise decision. I just say it would have been nice, because if it had ran across the map, who knows, it might have been able to get a little bit of damage done. But it will also be useful when it comes to trying to break this contain, maybe target down an SCV, maybe just soak some shots from the bunker. And yeah, -0, for those of you that don't know, is arguably the best bot out there. It is, I think it's safe to say. But again, that's an interesting metric, because we just cast Zozo, which was the ProBots champion. And that is I mean, if you consider a tournament, one of the like few bot tournaments we have to decide which bot is the best. It's interesting. But like, for example, -0 has a better win rate on the ladder, has a higher ranking on the ladder, but it's still but Zozo still won the tournament. So it's interesting to see. Now, we do have -0 going to break this bunker. Incredible micro on those stalkers, as the SCV does get targeted down. One of those stalkers does commit on in there and does get targeted down by Benbot, which was really nicely done, targeting that down. I think -0 could have saved that stalker if it had pulled it back. And then Benbot gets punished heavily on the retreat. That's one of the cool things about -0. It is a bot that will pivot from cleaning up a proxy at its natural right into getting aggressive and trying to bring the pain to Benbot. However, the build times out quite nicely for Benbot in that there is already a tank at the natural, a couple of Widow Mines, and so -0 will not be able to break this too easily, or if at all. Like, I don't think these stalkers are going to get through here, but look at that. -0 eats one tank shot, and then immediately we see the stalkers pull back. This is something that -0 probably does the best out of all the bots, is rarely walking into tanks when it's not a good idea to do so. And that is just incredible, the fact that it remembers, hey, there was a tank there, and kind of just says, don't go back on him. So it must have some sort of memory element as far as remembering where units were. And then we've got Benbot trying to run this Hellion out. It keeps eating a shot, but then it goes to get repaired. So actually very nice that -0 is denying this scout/move out. Benbot tags a 4-gate build. Let me guess, -0, yeah, it only has 3 actually. So whatever Benbot says 4-gate, it can actually be 3 gates apparently. I'm guessing it just means a lot of gateway units. Now, -0 does have its natural base rebuilt. It's not too far behind economically, and it will just be able to pump out probes, maybe chrono boost some of them out, but hold the phone. -0 actually goes on in and gets aggressive. It doesn't get the tank, but it actually pops the bunker. So far, only 3 stalkers have died this game, and -0 is really putting the pressure on Benbot. Up to 13 stalkers. It could potentially dive on top of this. As I say that, though, a second tank comes out, and that is incredibly poor timing for -0 as it tries to go back on in, but then that second tank really shuts that down, so the Protoss bot goes back to just sitting outside the door. The Hellion Scout is denied once again. There is notably already +1 attack done for -0. It got a very quick forge. Benbot pulls some SCVs to repair the bunker. You gotta stay on top of those bunkers and keep them nice and safe. Even a couple of SCVs just hugging these tanks, but then they get off the tanks. So maybe a bit of a pathing blip there, but they correct it, which is what we want to see. Now, Benbot does have some bio. These Marines and Marauders kind of have small dog syndrome right now, where they're like, yeah, we can totally get these stalkers. They are staying in range of the tanks, which is quite important, though. -0 comes on in, sees there's 2 tanks, 2 Widow Mines, a bunker, and the math is saying do not attack on in there, which is quite important. The Protoss bot is still just on 2 bases, spending a lot of resources on stalkers. It's just stalker after stalker after stalker for -0. You can see how this bot tries to win games. It's not a bot that focuses on trying to get to the late game, get up to Tempest, that kind of thing. No, it really relies on these gateway units, and it makes do with just a good number of gateway units and phenomenal micro. We'll probably see -0 have to react, though, as Benbot has got a battle cruiser on the way that'll probably teleport across the map, and that'll break this containment, if I had to guess. A planetary, meanwhile, for Benbot is getting established at that 3rd base, thanks to the fact that Terran can float. We hear that click, Benbot saying tag, jump enemy base, and there it goes, a battle cruiser teleporting into -0's main base. There is a recall from -0, which is nice to see. I think it's been a while since we've seen that used to shut down battle cruisers, but that is incredibly effective for the Protoss bot as it allows it to maintain a presence on Benbot's side of the map with these stalkers, but then also push that away. So very solid defense by -0 against Benbot. Benbot taking no chances, goes for a 2nd bunker at its natural. I'm a big fan of that. The planetary is still at the 3rd. There's even a tank there. So economically, Benbot is in a good position compared to -0. 56 probes to 70 SCVs, 2 bases to 3, although the 3rd is building for -0. But look at this, a 4th building inside the main base of Benbot. So Benbot ahead in this game presently. We'll see whether it can keep that lead or not. -0 is kind of transitioning in the sense that it's getting up a Twilight Council. We'll probably see Blink, which is a very late Blink compared to most Protoss that build 28 Stalkers. That's just one of the things about -0, though. It really delays those upgrades just for early units. And it tends to do quite well with them, as it's putting a massive amount of pressure on Benbot right now, keeping it contained. And the Stalker micro of -0 is so good that Benbot cannot move out. Even with 9 Marauders and 17 Marines, it would be questionable if the Terran tried to move out. But usually Protoss see this amount of Terran bio in human games and say, I can't deal with that. I better back off, otherwise I'm going to not pay attention for a second and lose all my stalkers. Whereas bots are just constantly on it, and so they can be out there a little bit longer. We've got 1 battle cruiser jumping inside the main base of -0. Yamato Cannon hits a Stargate. We'll see if it goes down. Benbot really wants to kill those, and I think that was actually a kill. Yes, it was. No cancel from -0 on that building structure. So nice pickoff by Benbot, going to delay the Tempest, which is so important, as now Benbot is kind of in control of this game with the battle cruisers, with the extra bases, and the game will potentially start to pivot back if -0 can get up these Tempests. For now, -0 does have a good army still. It's got enough Stalkers to handle the battle cruisers, but I mean, Benbot's at 183 supply already. It just picked off 2 Immortals in the middle of the map that were in the wrong spot, probably because they don't shoot up, so they weren't pulled back, unlike everything else. And yeah, -0 is definitely behind in this game. It's building Colossi, which can help with the bio. Benbot, though, happily in 3 battle cruiser production. It's getting 2 upgrades as well. It can't be overstated how important that is. Injured battle cruiser comes on home. Didn't get much done, but that Stargate was canceled. And now we see Benbot, though, maybe overextending a little bit as its bio moves on out on the map and just gets absolutely slaughtered. So we see what happens when the Terran leaves the safety of those tanks. And this is Benbot's interesting bio production. There's no upgrades on this bio other than the combat shield and stim, no 1/1 coming, that kind of thing. It is just, it's going for battle cruisers, but then also sprinkling in some bio, which is a bit of an odd combination. However, I guess it just rounds out the army enough. We do have this battle cruiser, 2 battle cruisers actually inside the main base of -0. They depower a pylon. However, the Stargate was not taken down as that is further back into the main base. No fleet beacon has been constructed yet. That will be something very important to see. Meanwhile, another battle cruiser teleports on in. These BCs not utilizing their Yamato cannon on the Stalkers, which again is another interesting question. Oh, okay, it actually does use Yamato cannon on a Stalker. That's nice to see. It's interesting how it waited, but then eventually it did do that. So I'm really glad to see that Benbot actually has that baked into it. I was thinking about it, I'm like, you don't always want to Yamato Stalkers because if it's a big fight or something. However, in a situation where the BCs are just chilling on the outskirts of the base, absolutely use that Yamato cannon. So I'm glad to see that. Once again, we have Benbot moving out with a little bit of bio. There's BCs coming to support this, but the bio will be gobbled up. The battle cruisers in the center of the map are without a lot of their friends, and it's only 2 of them. So -0 can potentially pounce on top of these. This could be an expensive loss for the Terran bot. Yamato cannon goes down, hits a Colossi high-value target, but not really a threat to the BCs, so it's questionable if it is the best thing to Yamato cannon. 1 battle cruiser does go down. That was the first one to die. Yamato cannon hits an Oracle. That's a nice pickoff. Meanwhile, Benbot keeps dumping battle cruisers into the main base of -0. -0, which is now trying to get up Tempest, but it's going to need them very quickly here, as we've got 5 battle cruisers at a time being constructed, an 86 SCV Terran economy, speed mining across 5 bases is just ridiculous. We do have Yamato cannons hitting a Stargate, hitting a Tempest, and Benbot wants to shut down this Tempest production of -0. If it can get all these Stargates, that would be huge. Keeping the Tempest count is so important in situations like this. We do have these battle cruisers moving down towards the bottom right, and then we have 2 more BCs for Benbot teleporting on in, not realizing there's a bunch of units there. That's unfortunate, but they do at least get one of the Tempest. And for now, Benbot can trade suboptimally when it comes to battle cruisers against Tempests, even 1 for 1 or less, because it's just really important that Tempest count stays low, and presently it is low. Now, 1 Tempest can cause a lot of problems, though, but look at that. Yamato cannon will hit it. 1 more, and it's going to die. 2 more battle cruisers jump in for Benbot. Is that going to be a dead Tempest? Yes, it is. The battle cruiser didn't even try to Yamato cannon that down as well, I'll say. That's very nice, as it just was able to target down the Tempest. Now, -0 has nothing to get these BCs in the corner. Again, it's had to pull its Stalkers back. Again, this is keeping the pressure off of Benbot, which is taking a ridiculous amount of bases. Maganatha is a very large StarCraft 2 map, but Benbot is making it its own as it just expands all over the place. There's, what, 2 more bases for it to take? This will be an interesting test for the bots to see whether these gold minerals get mined out, as Maganatha is another one of these maps with a weird anomaly. You got to kill the rocks to free to destroy the LaughNgamez so you can take the base. I can't recall if it actually kills some mineral patches or not. I don't think it does. But anyway, we do have -0 now with one more Tempest out. -0 has got a ridiculous amount of Stalkers still. It seems it's actually freezing Stalker production at 38, which is probably a wise decision, and just saving that supply, because right now both of these bots have very significant banks. There's so many things to keep track of in this game. As an observer dies there, -0 trying to just keep its own economy on par with that of Benbot's, which is not an easy task. Yamato Cannon kills yet another Oracle. Benbot is really making great use of these battle cruisers. I still think we really need to keep eyes on this Tempest count, as that is where it starts to turn sour for the Terran bot when the Tempest count reaches like 3, 4, 5. But for now, things are going okay for Benbot. It's producing little bits of bio still, even getting 2/2 upgrades on the bio. It's already got 3/3 done on the BCs and armor for all the mech units. Meanwhile, -0 doesn't have any attack upgrades for the Tempest. This is actually quite significant, but it doesn't matter what the upgrades are when 2 battle cruisers try to fight a bunch of Stalkers. But here we go, -0 or getting jumped upon by Benbot, as these Tempest are the main target, and Benbot realizes it and goes after those Tempests. So all but one of the Tempests gets killed off. That one Tempest has to retreat, as the dynamic between these Tempest and battle cruisers is really something. Maganatha also really playing into this air composition for Benbot, all this dead space these BCs can use. Of course, that can pivot, though, if... Oh my gosh, another Oracle just got killed by a Widow Mine. It flew into that when I think there was an observer over it, which is not ideal. But, yeah, I think... I lost my train of thought on that one, but this map really is playing into Benbot's BCs. Of course, that can pivot, as -0, if it gets up a critical Tempest count, can potentially just take control of the skies and abuse the terrain as well. Notably, the Protoss bot is not adding in another Stargate. I will say that this is very unfortunate. It had 2, and it hasn't seen fit to rebuild any. I'm curious what the math is on this, because it's got a ridiculous amount of minerals. This is the time in a game of Starcraft 2, if you ever find yourself in this wacky ladder situation, where you go ahead and build, like, I kid you not, 10 Stargates, something like that, because the ability to remax is paramount. Yamato Cannon's going down, though, as more Tempests get jumped upon. And look at this, Benbot fighting with a tremendous battle cruiser count right now. I don't know how many are on the screen, but it's more than enough to skirmish with these Stalkers. So good trades for Benbot as it pulls these injured units back. The Terran bot has been able to secure up this location. -0, meanwhile, maybe out of bases to take, as Benbot goes to secure the upper right. And the blue Protoss is really struggling here, I think. It's got a phenomenal bank, but the trades are not good enough. Its macro is not good. It's weird to say that it's got 13,000 minerals in the bank and its macro is not good. Macro is about spending your money in StarCraft 2, and right now -0 is not making the most of that potential. It's chilling at 170 supply this game. I'm guessing it's just reserving this 30 supply to build other units, and the production is just slow for whatever reason. Not building that Stargate could really cost it in this game. I'm wondering if that will change if the Stalker count goes lower, if -0 will say, hey, I need more production, as I can earmark more supply for Tempest, but I do not know. There is presently 2 Tempest out for -0. Again, they just keep getting jumped on by battle cruisers, which is not great. Yamato Cannon picks off that very expensive Warp Prism. Those are not cheap. We see the battle cruisers move forward, picking off some units, and they can always just teleport away, unless they've burned their teleport on a suicidal dive on top of Tempest, but it's always worth it if the Tempest dies, as one of them goes down, and the BCs for Benbot are doing phenomenal. The red Terran bot has got so much more money to mine, so while -0 has got a big bank, it is not spending its money ideally. And look at this right now. We're down to 160 or 160 supply for -0, and it's still not getting up any more production. It's not rebuilding Stalkers. This is not great for the Protoss bot. Benbot is really holding it at a stalemate, using this terrain on Maganatha, using the battle cruisers, constantly trading out. Notably, no air upgrades on the Tempest either, which is not great. Now the battle cruisers go for it once again, and look at this. They're going to be killing another Tempest. There it is, just teleport dead. It's a very funny dynamic, and that's why the Protoss needs a critical mass of Tempest to really punish the Terran if they jump on top of them. If the Tempest are getting killed every time by those dives, there's no way to punish the Terran. That's why as Protoss, you need like 10 Tempest at least, that kind of thing, so they all can't be killed, and then you can pick off the battle cruisers as they retreat. We've got Benbot getting aggressive now, jumping into -0's main base. This may force the blue Protoss back. We'll see if there's a recall or not. This Nexus does have the energy for it, however, it's very late in the game for a mechanic like that to kick on in. Stargates are getting killed off, so the limited Tempest production is being gutted. -0 does not have the means to spend its money, and it's totally just bugging on out here, it seems, as I think it lost its Cybercore. Yeah, it did, so no Stalkers, no Stargates, and Benbot, I think, has just got free reign to win this game here. There's one Tempest out that needs to do the Lord's work and pick off all these battle cruisers. I mean, look at this. We've got 14 BCs on the map, 1 Tempest, and 9 Tempest have died this game to 4 battle cruisers. That's a very good ratio for 20 minutes into the game. -0 may do a little bit better now that it's on the defense against these BCs. It does have a new cybernetics core, so its production is back online. There's only 4 gateways, though, and I think 3 of them are unpowered. I'm not sure where the 4th gateway is. Okay, yeah, there's literally 1 gateway going for -0. We are getting a new Stargate rebuilt. Is the fleet beacon still alive? No, that is dead. And it's basically a total tech reset on -0, which is chilling with 20,000 minerals in the bank. Again, this is not usually something that we see happen with -0. It's usually spending its money better, trading out constantly, and remaxing really with no major problems. Benbot moves on in, hits this location, kills a cannon. Again, Defender's advantage will improve things for the Protoss, and it definitely needs to improve, as resources lost is 22,000 to 16,000. Weirdly enough, we get +1 attack on the way, a fleet beacon building, double Nexus, and a mortal being built. It seems like -0 is waking up a little bit, which does give me a glimmer of hope. Not hope in that I'm biased and I want -0 to win, but hope because I don't generally enjoy seeing bots bug out. And I would say that this probably was a bug, -0 not having adequate production. But look at this, it's building 3 more gateways. So finally it seems that -0 is realizing how much production it needs. We do have that 1 Tempest still alive. I totally jinxed it, it's dead. But the Stalkers are on the prowl. Benbot's getting aggressive. -0 is still not in a great position this game because Benbot has got a lot more money to work with. It seems neither of the bots knows how to expand on Maganatha. Probably something the bot authors will add in later if I had to take a guess, depending on how long we run with this map pool, because it could be significant depending on the matches. But look at this, 1 Tempest being built and a 2nd Stargate being added in. So Tempest production will be growing now. It might actually be shrinking though, as this Stargate is being targeted. Another Tempest pops on out. We'll see if it can save the Stargate. Energy recharge going down on a shield battery to keep these units healthy, but there we go, the Stargate does perish. And so -0 is still a long way away from getting these Tempest up. There's constant skirmishes going on in this game. Benbot has basically gutted the Protoss main base. Yamato Cannon hits yet another Stargate. Benbot really hates those, and we're seeing how it's had great success in this game. And -0, I mean, it's trying to build yet another one of these Stargates. I'd like to see more than 2 at this point. This is, again, where I want to see 5 Stargates at least. And okay, okay, now it's just starting that one, but it's gonna die again. Oh dear. -0 really struggling with this Tempest count. It has that other Stargate killed, I believe, not canceled, I want to say, in that situation. These battle cruisers are being driven away. There is a world, though, in which -0 can potentially come back in this game if it can get up to 200 supply with Tempest. Again, it's been kind of crippled because its production hasn't been adequate on them. It needs to prioritize building Tempest, like Benbot prioritizes killing Tempest and shutting down Tempest production. It's not doing that presently. And so -0 is skirmishing with these BCs still. It's an incredible micro battle that goes on because the Stalkers, they take damage, they just blink back, they don't die. The BCs, they take damage, they pull back, they don't die for the most part. And it really is a great highlight of how well these bots micro their units. How many Stalkers have died this game? Only 40. When you consider we're 25 minutes into a game and there's been consistently 20 plus on the map, that's pretty good value for these Stalkers. Meanwhile, -0 does have 2 Tempest out. They're actually killing off some SCVs, and this can be a way forward for the Protoss bot because, I mean, we've seen Benbot fall into an SCV death spiral in the past. And so if -0 can just keep popping these off, right now it's taking 2 shots to kill them. We do see Tag jump Tempest, however, there is a battery. One of those Tempest stops fleeing. Can they get on top of the battery to save them? No, they can't. One of them stays alive. The Oracle dies. But look at this, -0 has a 3rd Stargate on the way and just about finished. We could be hitting triple Tempest production, which would be huge for the Protoss, as that Tempest is still alive as well. -0 has got some road to run still, but it is running out. Look at this, 3rd base not mining, 4th base not mining, 5th base still mining, won't be mining forever though. 6th base even mining out, meanwhile Benbot's still mining at these locations. So it's all going to be on the army for -0, and it probably needs to win the game sooner rather than later. Otherwise, Benbot could potentially come back in this one. We are seeing the power now, though, of +2 attack on these Tempests. They are one-shotting these SCVs. Benbot's building 6 at a time. That will quickly add up. Benbot's getting aggressive, though, and if it can shut down this production, that would be really nice. There is a Tempest. It's full shields thanks to the battery, but no matter how much time is in between 2 Yamato cannons. 2 Yamato cannons always kills a Tempest. Now, -0 is building 3 Tempest at a time. It's building Immortals as well, which is interesting when you consider it's up against 12 battle cruisers, but there is tanks in the mix, and just the constant skirmishing of these Stalkers against battle cruisers. It's like a never-ending fight. The only thing is, -0 doesn't have to pay to regenerate shields on these Stalkers, whereas Benbot has to pay to repair these battle cruisers. That doesn't show up on resources lost until the battle cruisers die, so you can spend 1,000 resources rebuilding a BC, and then it dies, and all of a sudden your resources lost jumps by 1,500. So we may actually be closer to it being neck and neck than the resource loss presently shows us, which has, oh gosh, what, a 7K discrepancy, 8K discrepancy. But look at this, -0 now getting aggressive. All of a sudden, it's maxed out on supply. Benbot's going to try and save this, but it is unable to do so, as only 1 BC is not enough to respond. We have Benbot falling into a bit of an SCV death spiral again, building 7 SCVs at a time. They're constantly transferring across the map. Some of them may be dying. 2 BCs do find some Immortals, which any pickoff is really nice. And look at this, 5 BCs jump on in. We'll see what they're able to kill. It will be at least 1 Tempest, but now they've got to try and hightail it out of there, and -0 is looking to punish these. And it will punish them incredibly hard. The Protoss bot has got literally 1 base mining at this point in the game, at least gas-wise, and so it's got to win the game relatively soon. Benbot's trying to rebuild this base. That's quite nice. -0 is losing some Immortals on the other side of the map. That's not nice. Yeah, battle cruisers are going down, so big losses for Benbot. We're getting a Thor added into the mix. That's very interesting. Thor into the Immortal production of -0. That's not great. We do have battle cruisers jumping on top of Tempest, but clearly the calculation doesn't take into account how many Stalkers are lurking underneath, so Benbot takes big losses. But man, oh man, look at the gas bank. And by bank, I mean bank. That's it. -0 has pretty much just got the gas it has, 4,000. If that number reaches 0, that could be a win condition here for Benbot, which is still mining a little bit of gas. It's actually mined out most of the gas on its side of the map, literally this base in the upper right. So it's actually 1-to-1 right now. Benbot's got a much larger bank. Double Yamato cannon hits 2 separate Tempests. That's not ideal. as it would have been much better, of course, to actually kill one of them. -0 is at 13 Tempest, though, and we'll see if Benbot can hold this location. Bio may actually pick off an Immortal. That's quite surprising. And here we have Benbot going for yet another suicidal battlecruiser dive. They're going to try and Yamato Cannon down a Tempest. They target different ones. I believe one Tempest did die there, but again, that's 3 battlecruisers teleporting onto 13 Tempest. That is not mathing out for Benbot. You need all your BCs when you go for a move like that. And so the efficiency is just crumbling for the Terran. Now we're having a bit of a production fault here for Benbot. It's not rebuilding any battle cruisers right now. It's actually at 100 supply and frozen. It's just building bio and SCVs, which makes me wonder, is Benbot saying there's too many Tempests, don't bother? But it should at least be building Vikings or something. There's tanks, some Widow Mines trying to hold this location. There's plenty of observers for -0. One of them may actually die to a turret, and it does, but there's enough observers. Another one flies into a turret. And Benbot, I think, lets this game slip through its fingers, which is a little depressing. A very good game between these two bots. There's some very good takeaways here in regards to production. -0 had its fault, and it kind of just crumbled. Benbot's clearly having its own fault right now. It's got enough money to build at least 20 battle cruisers, which, who knows, if they just teleported onto the enemy army, it might have worked. But yeah, very, very, very bizarre how Benbot just gave up building the BCs and is now dead. So I think that's going to be it. I kind of want to rewind and see if the fusion core died or something, but I don't think it did until very recently. And then Benbot just says no more production. So this game really highlights how it's not just all about programming to build or programming to have really good like micro. It's not about picking the best builds for your bot. It can also be about how well you program your production manager. That is a huge part of programming your bots because it's not an easy thing to do. You have to account for every situation in Starcraft 2. Sometimes pro gamers even build the wrong things at the wrong time. And yeah, it's just not easy. So very, very well done by -0. Able to come back in this game, now taking Benbot's sort of spent bases. Well, this one's pretty fresh, but not that it needs it. And yeah, a good match. Ladies and gentlemen, if you watched up until this point, I think this is probably this is a pretty long video. Click that like button. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And big thanks to everyone who does support the channel via the YouTube membership or the super chats, whatever it may be. You are all appreciated. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.